Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club, and happy Friday, everybody. Bringing that Friday energy to you. It is a beautiful day here in Seattle. 100% zero clouds out there. Still a little bit cold, but it's just beginning to June, so we haven't even got to summer yet. So good day, and a good day for a second reason, because we have Buddy Rushing with us on the podcast. Buddy does single family investments as well as multifamily, and he helps military members achieve financial freedom. And he also has an interesting story to jump into. So, Buddy, I'll let you lead off with where are you right now in the U.S.?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You just said Seattle, and that it's a cloudless day, and that's not what you think of when you think of Seattle. You think of rainy and cloudy and everything. And here's the wicked twist. I'm in Southern California, North San Diego County right now, and when you think of San Diego, literally it's called Sun Diego by people because it's always sunny here, and it is absolutely the grayest, cloudiest, most miserable day ever. So yeah. I don't know if the stars aligned, but I'm stuck here in crappy weather, and you've got great weather. And
my fiance's family lives down in Southern California. And whenever we go to see them, for some reason, it is cloudy, and it's just like, come on, guys, we come down here for the sun. We don't want this.
Exactly. It's so funny because I've got several great friends that absolutely love Seattle, specifically Seattle, and the Pacific Northwest and everything, and everything. And we just brutally give them crap for like, why would you live there? It's so rainy. It's so this and that. And yeah, so chickens come home to roost, I guess. But yeah, I'm actually, I don't know if this podcast is audio or visual or whatever, but if it is visual, you can see that there's a steering wheel in the thing, and it's because I'm in my car parked at a RV campground because I got kicked out of my house last week. I had to move out because we rent our house out every summer, and we use it to pay for vacation. Last year we went through Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Belize, and for 3 months. And this year we're going up and down the coast of Southern California, and then we're flying to Montenegro, which is actually one of the newest countries in the world. I had never heard of it. It's in the Balkans. It's like over there. It's like there's a place called Kotor, which is a city in Montenegro that's right on the ocean, right on the Adriatic Sea. Yep. And it's this like amazing, gorgeous place. Anyway, we're going there where I've got, like, my wife and I have 2 kids, 4 and 6 years old, and they have this program called Boundless Life, where people come from around the world and they immerse in the culture, and they teach your kids, and it's like a cool summer program for kids, but for the parents also. So we're going to go there, and then we're going to bounce down to Puerto Rico, and then we've got our 16-year wedding anniversary, so we're going to go over to the Bahamas after that.
And true to real estate investing, this is funded by renting out your house. This is the first person. Yeah, the first person that's come on the podcast who rents out your house during the summer and then takes that opportunity to go and travel. And I think it's great. We have a 1-year-old daughter, and I feel like, once she's a little older, that's a good strategy to start in.
Yeah, give her. Yeah, do not do this before. I mean, I absolutely know people that do this with infants and 1-year-olds, but I'm just going to be upfront and honest. I would never do that. Like, wait 2 years until she's 3.
Yeah. And we've already experienced. We've tried to travel with under 1-year-old, and it was a nightmare. But Buddy,
disaster.
We always like to start with stories on the podcast. Where you are is a story on itself, but I want to hear how you got to where you are. So why don't you take us to the beginning of your story in real estate and just tell us how the career has gone?
Yeah. So, I'll try to be brief. I'm 42 years old, and so anybody that is 42 or older has probably a lengthy story. So I'm not gonna belabor the point, but it does bear. It is important though to understand kind of the mindset and the background. Like, I grew up I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and we grew up in a little trailer in East Tennessee. When we had a trailer, actually, there was a time we didn't have a house at all. And food stamps, and there was a program called WIC back in the day, which was government program for poor people. And knew nothing about money. My mom and my dad's parents didn't come from money. Like they were been poor since the beginning of time, right? And that's all we knew. And I remember when I was older, I ended up joining the Marine Corps, and I got sent to Afghanistan. And when I was on this it's called a mounted patrol. I don't know how many people listening to this are military, but there's different kinds of patrols. You can patrol on foot, or you can patrol in mounted vehicles, armored vehicles. And so we were in an armored vehicle patrol, and there's a lot of downtime in those kinds of patrols. Like you don't move. It's not like the movies where you blast in and guns blazing. It's like you move slow and super slow, right? And so we're sitting there, and I look to my left at there's a radio mount with all of our radios and stuff like that. And then in between the radio mount and the seat, there was this tiny little super small purple book, right? And I pulled it up and I looked at it, and it said, yeah, of course, right? And it said Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I remember hearing his name because he was a Marine, and Marines tend to talk about other Marines that have done notable things. And so I didn't know what it was about, but I knew that he was a Marine. And so I was like, all right. So I was like, I got literally nothing else to do, so I'm going to read this thing. And if I'm sure you read it, it's a really short book, right? You can read it in an hour probably, or 2 hours or something. And I read it, and it told me that even though I was born from a poor background and had nothing and didn't know anything about it, that in America I could become generationally wealthy, and I could do it through real estate. And it spoke to me, man. It floored me. And lots of crazy things happened that deployment, related to the military. But the one thing that was not related to the military that hit me was that. And for whatever reason, I could not let it go. And so I came back from Afghanistan, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna build financial freedom. I don't know what that means, but it sounds awesome, right? It sounds awesome to not have to. I mean, dude, when you're poor, everything's a problem. I don't know what your background is or what your experience is, but when you're poor, everything is a problem. I remember driving to school, and our tire would blow out, and normally that's an inconvenience. You get AAA to come, you get change your tire, you move on your way, whatever. Call an Uber. When you're poor, a tire blows out, it ruins your week or multiple weeks, because you can't afford to just replace the tire. And you also can't afford to get a taxi or an Uber or whatever. And so you literally have to walk or just stay there for hours at a time. When you get hurt and you don't have insurance, it's a real problem. You don't just go to the hospital.
Especially
you
in
deal
America,
with it.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so all I knew was that life. And I was, it just inside that book, I was like, man, so I can change all of that for not just me, but anybody that comes after me. And so, so I came back. But the problem was, and this is something important for people to listen to, inspiration itself is not enough. I was inspired, but I had no real education. I had no network. I had no resources, anything. All I had was a bunch of inspiration, and that is freaking dangerous. Okay, so just people need to bear this in mind. So I came back, and I went to 29. I was still in the Marine Corps, so I went to 29 Palms, California, which is right outside of Palm Springs. And I walked into the first real estate office I could find, and I said, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to flip houses. I want to buy an old, ugly piece of crap house, renovate it, and then sell it for a bunch of money. I was like, is this a good time to do that? And he was like, June 2007, phenomenal time to flip houses. Phenomenal. I was like, Roger that, let's do it. And I didn't even know what a market was, right? So I didn't know the market was crashing because I didn't know what a market was. And so I went out and I bought this 2-bedroom, 2-bath, house that was really, really old. Everything needed to be fixed. I bought it. So remember these numbers. I bought it for $152,000. Okay, zero down, because at that time, anybody with a pulse could get a
that
zero
is
down.
Crazy.
Right?
I don't mean to jump into your story, but I hear stories from people that were in investing at that period, and it's just nuts. Like zero down. I just got I had to pass on the deal because It was plots of land in Gainesville, Florida. This guy was trying to sell it to me. Market price for an acre there is like 30,000, something like that, or for these lots. And this guy had gotten $111,000 loan on this plot of land in 2006. When the market price then, it was like what, $10,000, and he
Wow.
got this loan, and it's still there, so I couldn't buy it. I'm like, the debt's there. It's just way more. I mean, it's way more. The value is not there. So, anyways, I jumped into your story, but hearing of
And
people
that was
getting loans
20.
back
So
then,
he's been carrying that loan for 20 years too.
yeah. No,
Wow.
it was a
Wow.
dead deal when I heard that. I was like, yeah, this isn't
Oh,
gonna
dude,
work.
it's crazy. Yeah, it was, dude, it was for real. So I had a 625 credit score as well, by the way. I didn't say that. So I
Yeah,
had a 625 credits. That's another story altogether as to how it got that low. But anyway, pretty funny one actually. But I had a 625 credit score, zero down. You know, it was a made up loan. It literally a made up loan, right?
yeah. They're just like,
It
whatever.
wasn't a
Here's the money.
VA. It was called a VC loan, a Veterans Choice Loan, which is a made up term, right? It was literally just, they were just like, here's a loan. And so I got $152,000 loan and I bought the house. And then I put every single dollar I had. So I'd just come back from Afghanistan. So you save money while you're there. You don't spend any money. And so I had $30,000 to my name, all the money I had in the world. And so for the next 18 months, I spent that entire 30,000, renovated it all myself. And then eventually my fiance came out, we got married, and she helped me finish it. So, okay. So 152,000, put 30 grand into it. I had it appraised brand new. It looked beautiful when we finished it. Had it appraised 18 months later, and it appraised for $68,000.
Oh,
Okay. So
wow,
I
that sucks.
started
In Palm Springs. That is surprising.
in 29 Palms, 29 Palms,
Oh,
right outside
okay.
of Palm Springs. It's a very
Okay.
small military town outside of Palm Springs. Yeah.
That's still
And
surprising.
so,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, the whole town lost 50-60% of its value. I mean, it absolutely imploded whenever 2008 hit. And so I started my marriage to my wife at a negative $70,000 net worth.
Oof.
In the desert. By the way, 29 Palms is not nice. It is a not nice place. It is the desert. You remember back in the day, the movie The Hills Have Eyes? I don't know if you remember
actually.
that.
I walked out of the movie theater when I went and saw that because I just couldn't take it.
The worst, right?
Yeah.
The worst. Well, the important thing to take from The Hills Have Eyes is it was filmed out there.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing.
So nothing horrible. Like just all of it's there is a Marine base. And so anyway, it was interesting. So to think about that, we've poured everything, a year and a half of our life, all of our money into this house, and it's worth half of what we bought it for. So what's the natural reaction, right? Real estate sucks. Let's move on. Let's go do something else. But I had a friend who was a real estate agent, and I give him full credit. Actually, we're not friends anymore. We just kind of grew apart, and I haven't talked to him in a decade. But like, he was there in my life for that particular moment. And I mean, he was just trying to get a commission. So it wasn't like he was trying to be a mentor to me, but he was put in my life at that specific moment. And it was amazing because he said, buddy, listen, this whole town is half off, but rent has gone up, right? This is a military town. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan in 2008, 2009, they were raging. Troop strength was going up. The DOD was pouring money into the military population, basically, which in a military town, the amount that you get for housing ties directly to the amount that you can pay for rent, which means the housing prices were 50% off, but the rent had gone up. So now you've got houses that are selling for 60, 70,000 that rent for $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Normal houses, 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses. And so he was like, you need to be buying. And I was like, you're crazy, dude. Like,
I just lost all this money.
I just lost everything. He goes, trust me, buddy, buy everything you can get your hands on and rent it out. And I was like, well, I can't get my hands on much because all I have left is the $16,000 that we've saved for our wedding. So my wife and I, like at the time it was my fiance. So we had saved together collectively $16,000 for our wedding because our families don't have any money. So, you know, we knew that we'd have to pay for it ourselves. And so this is a testament to her. Her name's Kimberly. So we're driving down this desert road and, you know, we're talking about what this guy, Larry, the real estate agent, had just said to us, buy. And we're like, and I was like, babe, what do you think? I was like, the only money we have is $16,000. That's it. That's right. What do you think? And she goes, honestly, I think we should buy. I think we should do it. And I was like, well, how are we going to get married then? And she was like, well, we can get married at the courthouse, and it doesn't cost any money to get married at the courthouse, and we can always just have a wedding later. You find me a woman that does that, right, Gabe? So anyway, and by the way, she's not a rugged person. Like if you look on my Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can see a picture of her. She's this beautiful, lovely, looks Southern California, very, very sweet, kind of doesn't like being dirty. Like she's not a rugged person. So for her to, and by the way, the San Bernardino County Courthouse is not a nice place. But nevertheless, she saw the vision of what it could be, even after a horrific failure of the first house. Crazy. So anyway, we went and got married by the Justice of Peace at the San Bernardino County Courthouse. So Google it for anybody listening. It is not a nice place. And then we went back and we put $16,000 down on this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house that was built the year prior. And the developer went out of business. He went bankrupt, right? Because everybody was going bankrupt in 2008.
Yeah.
I bought it for $69,000 and rented it out a week later for $975.
Damn.
So
that beats the 1%
my mortgage
rule, that's for sure.
Yes, sir, it does. So my mortgage was $385 a month, and I rented out for $975. And that house catapulted us into the rest of the story. Right. So after that, it obviously worked out incredibly well. And then, our goal after that was let's save as much money as we can and continue to buy these houses while we can. So 2009, 10, 11, 12, we just continued buying houses and educating ourselves. We went through educational programs, Rich Dad Education and New Wealth Advisors and all that. And we started buying in a bunch of different ways because we ran out of money fast. So we started buying, we did BRRRR deals, we did sub 2, we did JVs, joint ventures with people. We raised private capital. We self-directed our IRA, lots of different types of things. But yeah, that's what launched it. And I've been talking for a while, so I'll turn it over to you. But that's what launched it. Was a massive mistake.
It is it's a good story, and I love. It's difficult that you went through that first mistake, but being able to bounce back from that is a testament to you and your character and your grit. Because not every deal goes the way that we expect it to, and a lot of times, especially in those first ones, when you don't have the education, if you don't have a mentor by your side, it's easy to lose your shirt on a deal, especially if you don't understand the market, all that kind of stuff. So you bounce back from it. A testament to your wife being a wise woman. She saw that there was potential here, and you kept going down the road, and buying those single families. So once you mentioned a lot of different strategies there. Once you guys started buying and you realized the potential, you had that first success, which is super important to anybody investing to have success. I know the first one didn't work out, but once you actually see the money coming in, you can understand, the potential. What was the strategy that you guys, your overall overarching strategy? What were you trying to do? It sounds like most of it was cash flow. You guys weren't in the flip. You were looking to build a portfolio.
Yeah. Our first flip did not work out well, as you know, because the market crashed. So we ended up holding on to it, and we really fell in love with the idea of financial freedom. And the way that was defined to me early on is financial freedom is when you have enough passive income to cover all of your expenses. And so you don't have to work for the money. You can do whatever you want with your time. And that was really appealing to me. Right. And so that was effectively the strategy from the beginning is let's build up however we can. Let's build up enough passive income to where I don't have to have a job if I don't want, and we can do whatever we want with our life. Which is, that's it doesn't have to be slow, but it was slow for us. That was a slow road for us, right? Because we didn't have any money.
Single family is difficult to really reach that level. To reach the point where your passive income exceeds your expenses, unless you're doing something like short-term rentals can get you there pretty quickly if you buy the right one. But if you're just buying regular single family rentals, it can be difficult.
It's slow. Yeah, it's a few $100, right? It's a few $100. A lot of people like starting with single family because it's very palatable. And also, I work with military and veterans, so the VA loan, you can't buy apartment buildings with a VA loan. You can buy only up to 4 units. And so one of the things that we absolutely do is we buy 4 units. we buy a fourplex with a VA loan, live in one unit, rent the other three out, and that's a really good strategy. But by and large, people like to start with single family because it's less daunting than buying an apartment complex right off the bat. And what I tell people is it doesn't matter where you start. It just matters that you start.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody is only hearing commercial investing or apartment building investing, and that precludes them from ever taking any action at all because they're scared, then that's worse than them just buying single families. But to your point, absolutely, it's going to be very difficult to build financial freedom at $200 a cash flow a door, right?
Yeah.
If you're buying single family. But nevertheless, we didn't know any of this. So we were just taking action, honestly. And that's what I'll tell people is like, you can educate yourself all you want. You can have all the contacts in the world and whatever, but unless you take action, your life is never going to change. So that's the one thing we did do that was working incrementally is we were taking action. But the strategy honestly, Gabe, was to get to financial freedom through passive income. And truth be told, we did not get there for 13 years. Right. And I've now since then, because my business is about helping other military and veterans build financial freedom, I've helped people get there in 3. So I look at these guys like this guy, Taylor Wing, is a perfect example. He's an Army guy, joined White Feather, went through the Real Estate Investing Accelerator, which is a training program that I run for people, teaching them how to invest in real estate and helping them do deals. And he went through that. And within about less than 3 years, before he was 30, actually, in less than 3 years, using almost none of his own money, he built up almost 40 doors and like 38 doors, like $14,000 a month of passive income, got out of the Army and didn't have to get a job before he was
That's
30.
awesome, man.
Right.
I love it.
Right. So he did it way faster than us.
Yeah.
Because he did it more creatively and everything like that. So yeah. It took us, the long answer to your question is we didn't really have a strategy other than trying to build passive income any way we could figure out how to. And yeah, it took us a long time.
And also it's, you were kind of learning, I'm sure you met people along the way that kind of helped you out, but it sounds like for the most part, you were building your own blueprint, which is, why this other guy, he was able to do it in 3 years because you are providing that blueprint. I'm a huge proponent of people, getting mentors, getting coaches, whatever you can do to really shorten that time frame to give you a blueprint to follow, because there are 1,000 ways to do real estate. All you need is just one successful, proven blueprint to really work it, and that will get you to where you want to be. And maybe you and I could have a little debate here. I'm on the commercial side. I buy self-storage, mobile home RV parks, and I really like commercial. I feel like people should start in commercial, just because you can get there so much quicker than you can with residential. And so you like residential. You think people should start in residential. So let's hear, why do you why do you think that is the starting point? If somebody, let's say, they're 29, 30, 31 years old, they're out there, they have a job, but they want to achieve financial freedom. They want, let's just put a number on it. They want $5,000 a month in passive income that can replace their current expenses.
Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. And I love having this discussion because I also actually do like commercial as an investment strategy. I just don't teach it. And the reason that I don't teach it is because I have found, and this is just my own personal experience, I found that commercial real estate investing intimidates most people. and it intimidates them to the point where they don't take action. And so it isn't, so my lack of focus on commercial isn't because commercial is not a good investment strategy. It's because I've found that it's intimidating for most people. And so I would rather someone take action than not take action. And so it really, I guess it has more to do with people than it does with the sector, right? And so what I found is that almost everyone that I speak to is interested in buying a house because they either live in a house that they rent or they live in a house that they've purchased. And they right. And so they can get their hands around it. They're like, oh, okay, I understand single family rentals. I understand single family. And also when you talk to somebody about buying a single family rental and holding on to it and renting it out and so on, they can get their heads wrapped around it. And most people are not super intimidated about it. If you talk to them about buying an office space building or an industrial park or something like that, they're like, whoa, no way, can't possibly, right? So that's why, honestly, Gabe, I know people that are crushing it in the commercial space. And also right now, when this is being recorded, 2024, there's some incredible deals that are available in the commercial space because of all of the the interest rate hikes and, the pandemic and all of that just really hammered certain elements of the commercial space. And like my boy, Uncle Warren says, when there's blood in the streets, buy. And so anyway,
I like that answer. And I feel like it is a good answer because the most important thing in investing is just to get started. At the end of this episode, I always ask, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? Most people say, I wish I would have gotten started. I wish I would have started sooner. They say, I waited too long. I could have done this when I was in my, early 20s, and I would be 10 years earlier, down the road than I am right now. And I think that, single family really is, it's not daunting because we live in houses. We understand we understand how it works, and so it's not scary. And if that is the thing preventing somebody from getting in the game, just being afraid about getting that first deal done, then no, I totally get it. I think it's the right way to go. You've convinced me, but I will say commercial will get you there faster. So once you get into single family, definitely move on. It doesn't have to be commercial, industrial, self-storage, anything like that. It could be multifamily, 10 units and above, stuff like that.
Look at the numbers, bro. Like your average small single family investment is going to crank after all expenses, and people do their numbers wrong all the time. You don't just look at the rent minus the mortgage. You look at the rent minus PITI, property management, maintenance, vacancy, and potentially a CapEx, right? So when you take away all expenses, you're cranking out a couple $100 a month, right? And I remember 10 years into my single family journey, and this underlines your point. 10 years into my single family journey, I was making $1,800 a month of cash flow net. 10 years, and I was making $1,800. Right, you can make $1,800 on a single commercial investment.
Oh yeah, easy.
Right?
My requirement is it must make at least $3,000 net income to my bank account for me to even want to do it, even consider it. Because
exactly. And there's other ways through, like you mentioned, short-term rentals. I know, there's a friend of mine, Kirby Atwell, who's a West Point grad. You should definitely listen to his podcast if you. He basically has a strategy where he buys properties and converts them to short-term rentals, but not on the coast or the tourist areas. He buys them in areas where there's utilitarian purpose, like weddings and funerals. And so he can buy a house for $80,000, put $70,000 into it to make it super nice and everything, and he'll crank $110, $120 a day. ADU.
Crazy.
Short-term
rentals it's an interesting niche. I almost bought a couple of them just because I've always been so interested. But I always talk about the shiny object syndrome. Like you want to go do all these deals because there's just so many cool things to do in real estate. There's so many different strategies, but I've prevented myself from going down the short-term rental route because I know it would be another strategy that I would have to learn, and I don't want to distract.
No, just focus, bro. Just focus. I completely agree with you. I actually don't do his strategy simply because of that exact reason, right? Mm-hmm. I've been able to achieve my goals using my strategy, and now my purpose and my passion is helping other people do the same. And so that's where I want to, I'm spending my time is on refining my ability to reach people and to impact people and to help them have success. Because that gives me a lot more value than just making money anymore, right? Like just there is. I will tell you this, like Tony Robbins has a great saying. He's like, you can only make so much money, then you have to start making a difference if you want your life to matter. And that's so true. Because I remember the first time, my first deal that I made active money on was a wholesale deal. And I made $18,000 on it on a wholesale deal.
Damn, that's a
and
good
it was
wholesale deal for the first one.
It's a great wholesale deal for my first one, but I will tell you, I earned every penny of it. It was a nightmare. It was months and months and months and a total nightmare. But yes, I made 18 grand. And I remember cashing those checks. I've still got the picture of my wife holding the two checks. One was 5 grand, one was 13 grand because I wholesaled two deals, two houses to the same guy. Anyway, so she's holding the check and we were over the moon. It was so empowering and wonderful making that money. So I am not blind to the impact of money. However, I remember the first night that we realized that we were millionaires. We had run the numbers and we put our spreadsheets together and we're like calculated our net worth and we're like, we're millionaires. I felt almost nothing. Like literally, it was like another day at the office. It was like, so $18,000 made me feel amazing because I had no money, but $1 million didn't make me fit right. And then and it's the same thing when we hit the second million and the third million and so on, nothing. And it's not that the money doesn't matter. It's that there's only so much emotional return you're going to get from money itself. But I'll tell you where you get endless emotional return, and that is in helping people. Yep. It's unreal, right? And what's wild is that I'm saying the same thing that Tony Robbins says, that Gandhi said, that Jesus said, that Socrates said, that every single person, great thinker throughout history has said. Zig Ziglar, help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want, right? This is not new. It's just, maybe I'm late to the game, I didn't realize it. But I get so much joy out of helping, like telling Taylor's story. And we've got hundreds like that in White Feather. Like, telling their story and being a part of helping them succeed and create a greater life for themselves, it gives you endless return on investment.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hey, man, I just took a peek at the clock. It looks like we've already run down our time. Before we move on, though, I did want to ask you, there's been a lot of, there's continued to be a lot of speculation about the market, where it's going, what's going to happen in the next couple of years. I've liked to ask the guest that comes on the show, what is your crystal ball telling you? What are you seeing? What do you think is going to happen into the market in the next, 6 months, 12 months? Give us a story.
Yeah, my crystal ball is as cloudy and horrible as yours is. So I'll tell you first off the bat, everybody who has a crystal ball should have some humility along with it because nobody knows what they're doing, right? So when it comes to predicting, however, I do have my thoughts, and I will tell you, one, it's an election year, obviously. So anytime there's an election year, there is manufactured impact on markets, right? I do think, right, with inflation data coming in, we do see cuts on the horizon, right? So interest rates will likely, way more likely than not, interest rates will come down. Let's talk about the next 12 months because anything after that, you're just guessing. You're just guessing, right? So 12 months. In the next 12 months, I do see interest rates coming down probably 0.5 point to a point because of inflation data and because of a variety of other pent-up reasons. Because there is still a lack of an underbuilt inventory. So after 2008, from 2008 to about 2018, there was a dramatic drop off in new starts, and so you do have a constrained inventory writ large, and a lot of this stuff is market specific, but by and large, you have constrained inventory. And because interest rates are high right now, you also have a muted demand. So that's why there's a flat real estate market right now. So if you want to go become a new real estate agent, it's going to be a tough road for you. If you want to go become a new loan officer, it's going to be a fairly tough road for you right now. So you might want to consider that. But in the coming year, I do believe that interest rates will likely come down. And I believe that there's a lot of pent up demand that's not being acted on right now because they're the numbers, right? Yeah. And so I believe that that demand will get unleashed with the lower interest rates. I think that'll shake the market open. And I think that there will be a resurgence of home price appreciation. It won't be double digit like we saw before. There's just no way. The numbers don't bear that out. But here's where ultimately, whenever people ask what's the market going to do, what they're really asking is where's the opportunity. And so, I mean, I'm not going to give advice on the commercial sector because that's not my focus, but from everything I hear, there is great deals to be had in the commercial sector as people, their rates reset, and you've got more occupancy or more vacancy and things like that. But in the residential sector, I'd tell you the two biggest deals we've done in the history of White Feather have been both last year during the high interest rate climate. And the reason is because on one of them, it was a builder that built these, 11 townhomes in Daytona Beach Shores. And when he started building, interest rates were 2.75, and when he finished, interest rates were 7.75. And he did not. That blew out his models completely, and so he couldn't sell them. So what we did was we bought them at a. The builder actually got them repossessed back to the hard money lender that he borrowed money from, because he borrowed very expensive money and he couldn't sell them. And so the hard money lender took them back at 60 cents on the dollar. We bought them at 65 cents on the dollar and wholesaled them. And to your point about my original wholesale was 18 grand. Well, I did a wholesale last year of 11 properties and made 600,000. So awesome. It was, and I split it with one of my students, actually, a guy named Justin Lotvey. He was in the accelerator, and he put the deal together, and I helped them wholesale them all to our White Feather investors, and we split it down the middle. So he made 300 grand in 2 months. And that story's on my YouTube channel if you want to see the interview I did with him. So anyway, that was a deal that was made available because of the market, because interest rates literally made that deal possible. The second deal was we bought 12 properties, brand new construction, from a guy who built them, but he owned them free and clear. And so he had built them with his own money, and he was this like 83-year-old Navy guy, loved the mission of White Feather, loved what we were doing for veterans. And so decided to sell them to us and did a seller finance, right? So we were able to convince him to seller finance 70% of the cost at 2%. 2%, 30-year. Check this out: 2%, 30-year fixed, no balloon, no points.
Damn,
that is a true, real deal. Well, think about it though. We paid him full asking price, which he couldn't have got otherwise, and he's 83 years old, and he wanted to give his kids something that they couldn't destroy. Yeah. And he also didn't want to pay a lot of taxes. So if he had sold them to us outright, he would have paid a massive amount of taxes. This is a smart dude. Yeah. Instead, he creates an installment sale over 30 years that totally mitigates his taxes. And he creates what's effectively a dividend for his kids so they can't screw up their inheritance. That's what he wanted. So we gave him what he wanted. He gave us what we wanted. And so anyway, my point in saying all that is, there's incredible opportunity in the market right now. It's just not your standard go find a real estate agent and look on the MLS. You've got to be creative, guys. Think about this. 60, and I know we're at time. 60% of the mortgages that exist in America right now are sub 4% interest.
Wow, 60%? That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's in the tens of millions. And so if you're somebody who understands what a wrap is, or understands what a AITD is, or a sub 2, if you understand what those things are, then you understand that I can buy a house from somebody. Because remember, the big D's: death, divorce, disease, dislocation, debt, all of those things are still going to force people to sell. And those 3% interest rates are valuable in and of themselves. So if you can buy something subject to, or on a wrap, or whatever, then you have the ability to buy something and fall into a 3% interest loan, which is amortization schedules alone. Like, for people that don't know what I'm talking about, just go ask ChatGPT to explain it to you. Honestly, it's an incredibly powerful opportunity right now for somebody. If I was getting into real estate right now, I would become an expert on subject to. And I'm not an expert on subject to. Pace Morby is. So, and I don't know Pace. I don't get any money from it. That Pace, just go look up Pace Morby. He's an expert on subject to. Go educate yourself and go buy property subject to. By the way, most of the properties he buys subject to, he puts $0 into. So even if you don't have any money, you can go do this strategy.
We're just doing our first subject to deal. We're not buying it ourselves. We're going to assign it. But I had somebody on the podcast a couple weeks ago who does 100% subject to. And the strategy, I'd heard of it obviously, but it does make sense right now, because with subject to, you can get houses even if they're at asking price. Usually when you're an investor, you want to buy below market asking price. But if you can get something subject to and get that interest rate that's 3.6%, It's so much value there because interest rates right now are, much higher than that. And so, interesting strategy. And yeah, good
And it's a
advice for
strategy
someone.
that has a shelf life. Honestly, I think so. It's most powerful right now. Remember, I told you that interest rates are likely going to come down next year. This strategy will be less powerful next year.
Yeah.
Because, right? Like, it's the difference between the current asking interest rate and the one you can get your hands on that's the power.
Yep.
So,
love it, man. All right, I'm going to take that opportunity to move us to the quick question round. Are you ready?
ready?
Let's do it. Always starts with education, could be any form. I need 2 recommendations. Give me 1 for general life wisdom and then 1 for real estate.
Well, for real estate, it's got to go back to the Bible, right? It's like, if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a quick read. Anybody can read it super fast, and mindset is the most important thing in real estate or any endeavor. So you start with that. And then life, you know what? I am on a kick right now that is really about living life to the fullest. And so I would recommend the book Die with Zero. And Die with Zero is a book that basically talks about how you can't take money with you, and the only power it has is during your lifetime. And so you need to, instead of just stacking cash and amassing it and then dying and leaving it to somebody else, you take care of your kids and all of that stuff. And it talks about all of that, but you use the resources you have to live the greatest, fullest life you can right now. And man, it's a powerful mindset shift. And it's the reason that we're traveling the world right now. And the reason I'm in this car. And it's so Die with Zero.
Man. Die with Zero. I haven't heard of that one, but I like the concept. Moving us on to the next question. This is for your younger self. We kind of alluded to this earlier, but if you could go back to the buddy who was still over there in Afghanistan, he just saw that little purple Bible between the seats. Go to him, look him in the eye, give him 1 piece of advice moving forward.
Yeah. I almost said don't buy Sun Valley, which was the first deal that I bought, but I don't agree with that. I actually don't agree with that. I still own that property. It's 72285 Sun Valley Drive in 29 Palms, California. You can look it up. It's if you Google it or you look it up on Zillow, it's worth like $275,000 now, and it's rented for $1,750. And I did refinance it later, and the mortgage is $600. So it's cash flowing me $1,000 ish a month, and it's got a $100 and something thousand of equity. And do you know and I told you about the gut wrenching, horrible decision it was. Do you know what fixed it? Time.
Yeah.
Time. Right?
Time
I didn't do anything to it.
Problems. Yep. Especially in real estate.
In rental real estate, time heals almost every bad decision that you can make. And so you just have to gut it out, right? So I almost said don't buy Sun Valley, but Sun Valley and the lessons learned launched White Feather in the 4 7-figure businesses that we run now. So like that's, so never mind. See, you know what I will say? You need 3 things to be successful in your journey for financial freedom. You need knowledge. So maybe get some knowledge other than just reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So like join a course, or I agree with you. Get a mentor, get a coach. Like, I mean, it's so much fun. Like, who cares? Like, you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars for a coach. Like, you can, but you don't need to. You can get one that's reasonably priced. And my God, does it make everything easier and faster. So get a coach, join a training program, something like that. So get the knowledge, get a network, join a network. The right trusted network can basically solve, man, anytime I have a problem, I just go to somebody in my network and it's almost immediately solved. And then the third thing is the only thing that really matters in changing your own life, and that's action. So knowledge, network, and action. Those are the 3 things you need as a 3-year-old young lieutenant in the Marine Corps. Buddy, go get your knowledge, go build or join a network, and then take tons of action.
Nice. I like it. Knowledge, network, and action. That is a good blueprint for your younger self. Next question is about the U.S. It is a big place. There's a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
Metro. Okay, so state would be Florida. Metro would probably be, I like Southwest Florida.
Okay.
I
like Cape.
yeah, like
what is that? Cape Coral.
Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Lehigh Acres. And then so I've got the best performing deals that I have in my entire portfolio are 4 properties in Lehigh Acres. And I'd never heard of Lehigh Acres, didn't even know what it was. But they are, well, I'll just put it this way. 3 months ago, one of those rentals turned over, and they increased the rent 11%, and the person and moved somebody in right away. Now, where in the United States are you seeing rent still increasing at double digits?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Lehigh Acres.
Huh.
So anyway,
all right.
Not all of Lehigh Acres, by the way. You can lose your shirt in certain parts of Lehigh Acres. So do your due diligence and do your market analysis. But yeah, Southwest Florida.
Perfect. All right, next question is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller, penning that purchase agreement. What is your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
It's, what I do now, I don't look for deals at all. What I do is I train people, and I provide value in their lives, and I teach them how to do market analysis and how to go out and find deals. And the very best deals that I've gotten in the last 4 years have all been from people that I've trained, who say they go out, they make offers, but they don't have the money or they don't have the knowledge or whatever to put it together. And so they'll go out and make offers, they'll get offers accepted, and then they'll send me what I call a holy shit email. It's my favorite email to get. And they're like, holy shit, buddy, I'm in contract. What do I do now? And so I look at it and run the numbers, and we figure out everything. And, if it's a good deal, then I bring all the resources to the table, the cash, the investors, the whatever. So I don't actually hunt for deals anymore. What I do is I train and empower people, and I back them up with resources, and then they go find deals.
Nice. I love it. All right. Second to last question is about lessons learned. Not every deal that we get into goes the way that we expect it. Sometimes a wrench is thrown into the mix, and we get learn a lesson. So give me the deal that went a little bit sideways for you, and then the lesson you pulled from it.
Yeah, I would say we had like 8 or 9 bird deals that we were doing in Alabama, and the contractor was stealing from us and lying to us. I mean, just as pretty much as bad as you can get, like taking pictures of new appliances and then returning the appliances to Home Depot and getting the money back. And I have a duplex in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's the LLC. I called it Painted Roof LLC, and the reason is because I paid him $15,000 to redo the roof, and instead of redoing the roof, he spray painted it black and then took pictures of it so it would look like new shingles. So what I would say is you'd never want to just I hate to say it this way because I'm an optimist by nature, but there are contractors out there that trust but verify. There are absolutely contractors that'll screw you over. So verify your contractors. Make sure that you have a very strict accountability method for your contractors, because they'll steal from you.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually why I don't like flipping. Is if you're flipping, you really can only do it if you have a contractor that you trust very well, that isn't going to price gouge you, and you can trust that they're going to do what needs to be done. And that's just really hard to find. And if you're in new metros, unless you're in your backyard, you already know contractors. Finding a good contractor is super hard, especially if you don't live there. That is a good lesson to learn. But hey, we all go through it. We all have to get kicked in the pants sometimes. So it's good you learned that lesson.
Only cost me $120,000. So
there you go. There you go. So real quickly before we go on to the very last one, that is a good lesson to learn. What are the steps you use to verify your contractors going forward?
Yeah, I just having people submit like they need to have a what I would say is they need to have like an electronic method for tracking the project. And then they need to do physical, like one of the things I do is I have them submit pictures, but we've seen how that can also be bad. You can actually go on Bigger Pockets or any other there's tons of websites you could do. Find somebody local in the area that's just a normal dude, like maybe a high school kid or something. Pay them a small amount to drive by the site and take their own pictures.
So I like that. And one of the little strategies that I've used that has worked wonders for me is I'll buy something on like Uber Eats and I'll have it delivered to an address. But in the comments, I'll tell the Uber Eats driver, this food is for you. All I need you to do is take pictures and send them back to me. I've done this multiple times and it works. So you're paying you're paying like $10 for the meal. The Uber Eats driver gets to eat the food. They get the tip as well. And all they have to do is send you the pictures.
Gabe, you just took my recommendation and like turned it into the 21st century. Do what Gabe just said. Don't do what I said. Do what Gabe. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. And it does work. And I've had a couple Uber Eats people not do it, but $10, who cares? So that leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, so it should be pretty easy to find on the socials. My name's Edward Rushing, but I'm Buddy Rushing. That's my nickname. So I'm Buddy Rushing. So if you just type Buddy Rushing on Facebook, it's the one with the blue check. Buddy Rushing on Instagram. Our whitefeatherinvestments.com is our website. But yeah, just hit me up on either Facebook or Instagram. I have, I really do pay attention to those. I have people helping me with those channels, but I also watch them and I do respond to people. So, yeah.
Perfect. I'll put those links in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out to Buddy, click a little more in the description. It'll pull down the full description. In there, you can find his links. All right, man, that wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you want to support the show, just give us a review on Apple or whatever you're listening to this on. Other than that, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.